Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the ILG tournament. This is the first game of the day. My name is Loki. Alongside me is my co-caster Zadias. So Zadias, how are you?
Hello. Highly looking forward to the second day after a rather explosive first day of this tournament. Seriously, because I mean the opening game from the first day is just, and compared to the rest of the games and all that, it's just been a wild ride to now. So can't wait to see what today's gonna bring.
Indeed, it has. So yeah, first game off to the day, we've got Nexus Destroyers versus RuneFausT Gaming, I think. And RuneFausT is kind of a new team. I think this is their first game of the series, if I'm not sure. And Nexus Destroyers, I think it's their third. So we do have Syntastic on the side analyzing the game with us. So Syntastic, you want to introduce yourself?
Dude, what? Do it.
Alright, I think Syntastic is kind of having some microphone problems, so we'll wait for him to fix that up. And right now, we'll go through the bans of the blue team. The blue team is RuneFausT Gaming. They've banned Rammus, Lucian, and Heimerdinger. And over on the purple team, we do have Nexus Destroyers, and they've banned Warwick, Renekton, and Rengar. So, let's talk about the bans a little bit. So, Varn, why don't you just go through the blue team bans?
Right, so blue team, there is literally no reason for me to explain that first Rammus ban because you can just see it right there, the IGN of the first pick on the purple side. When you see things like that in team rank, there is literally, it's calling, it's literally asking for it. Like, you want to do it because, sure, yes, it is evident from his profile as well. If you pretty much go to his profile on Garena, you pretty much see that he's played 600 games of Rammus and only about 50 odd games of the second most played champ. So when things like that happen, you'd really rather that he not get Rammus, considering his IGN is best Rammus SEA. And he does play a very, very formidable Rammus as well, capable of taking down even much higher people, much higher, level skilled foes compared to his own skill. So yeah, that is very explainable. Lucian is, I'm not quite sure why you would ban a Lucian considering how the passive nerf kind of stung him a little too much than earlier. So meta wise, it's a really unconventional ban right now anymore, Lucian. And the Heimerdinger ban, I think, is a specific ban against Devil God Dante because yesterday we did see him play the Heimerdinger top against OG, and actually, though yes, it was against OG, he actually had a fairly decent time in the top lane going against Icon and his Renekton. So actually, it's kind of strange, but at the same time, it shows how much RuneFausT is respecting the enemy's top picks. And we do see, this is rather weird, we do see Deathsaw going on the AD carry instead of the mid lane and SRO Almighty on the support. So I guess this means XX Terminator is going mid lane and Devil God Dante going back to the top. I'm curious to see what his pick is, but yeah, they have kind of changed their roster a little. Deathsaw not playing the Yasuo mid like he did the last time around. I'd imagine they would, but anyway.
His Yasuo mid last game against OG was just really good. He was able to outfarm his opponent. He was able to deny a lot of farm.
It was good, but he couldn't make it work because he wouldn't ever roam with the pick. That was the one thing that was kind of pulling them. They had hope. They had immense hope when Deathsaw did get ahead, but he didn't really make it count because he couldn't apply enough pressure back to wherever OG were. And say what you may about OG themselves, I believe that could have actually given them a fighting chance against OG because he was playing really good by himself individually. He just couldn't translate that into team effort and make it count for his team. Going to the purple side, they actually did ban Warwick and Rengar. Warwick, yes, of course, I can sense the sphere still being there, even though it's patch 421 and we did see significant changes in the form of nerfs to Warwick. And I'm not sure whether they banned Rengar. I guess Steam.GG might have played Rengar. He hasn't played up till now. He didn't play the Rengar yesterday.
as far as I remember. I don't think he did. He actually played Warwick, and so I can understand a Warwick ban against Team GT. But yeah, basically, Nexus Destroyer is trying to put RuneFausT out of their comfort zone, it seems, by trying to ban out the champs that they did play so far. So yeah, that's pretty much how I believe the basis for both teams' bans are. They're kind of banning each other out instead of just banning standard meta picks. Goes to show how much they know each other.
Yeah, so those are the bans. We also have a Renekton ban that we really didn't touch on a lot. Any thoughts on the Renekton ban?
I don't know. I guess they just saw how I can dominate with Renekton yesterday in OG's 3 games and just managed to. They just were like, okay, fine. We don't want to see Renekton in any game right now. He's just too strong. I don't know. Possible hints at Renekton's come back to the top lane. I don't know. Probably this tournament would incite other top laners to just pick up Renekton and be like, okay, probably he is really strong given the right amount of team effort that goes into it. But here's the thing, though. In those Renekton games, we always saw Distinct playing fairly aggressive junglers. We saw him picking out the Pantheon. We saw him picking out the... What else did he go? Oh my god, I completely forgot what else he went in those games. He picked
out Pantheon, he picked out the... I don't remember the last game, but against Nexus Destroyers, he did pick out the Pantheon in the jungle, and it worked out really great for him. But
so yes, with aggressive junglers, Renekton really will shine with right early pressure, I guess.
Early game junglers especially, like a Lee Sin or so.
Exactly, yes. So that's how I can make it works, but... Again, that probably would give insights that would probably incite other top laners to pick him up as well. But that remains to be seen. It is only the second day. There are many more days and many more games to come. So hopefully teams will grow enough to recognize that top lane or something. But yeah, the reason they might want to ban is because it is very much possible that Nexus Destroyers have had experience against Sammy's Renekton earlier and would just want to put him out. Again, this is about putting people out of their comfort zone, not about standard. These are not standard team rank bans that you go for. It's not that these players needn't play, but because he's in the meta, they're banning. They're banning because they know that yes, these people play these champs. Let's try and take that out and build our comp as much as possible. Build our comp as much as we can against them.
Indeed, and let's go through the lane matchups, I guess. For mid lane, your favorite, Varun, Orianna versus Lux. How do you think this is going to match up?
Oh my god. I want to say the Orianna wins so hard, but again, okay, Orianna versus Lux, in my version of the whole thing, is you're just playing for range. You're basically trying to see how far you can stay from your opponent so you don't get hit by his spells. In the form of Orianna, it's her Q range. You want to see how far she can put her Q out at a point in time, so that if it misses, you'll kind of want to go in and punish the trade. So it comes down to slight punishing, and literally the timings of when they place their spells will be crucial. And if they miss, they should see the punishment coming for them. Like for example, if a Lux misses a crucial snare while the Orianna is open, then the Orianna can make use of the opportunity to just move right in because she needn't fear any other form of CC that will stall her.
Indeed, so it's all about taking your opponent's advantage, taking out your opponent's misplays, punishing for that, and we'll see how these teams do it.
That's how it ends up in every range versus range battle. So
exactly.
That's my version of how mid lane go.
Yeah, so coming to the bot lane, this is an interesting topic I'd like to touch about. The Vayne Sona versus an Ezreal Leona lane. Now, I really don't know how good Gaja's Vayne is. I really don't know. I guess I can probably judge after this game. But yeah, Densaw is a really good player in general. He can play mid, and he is also really good on AD carry. Not many people know about, but we'll just see how it goes, because Vayne is a very high skill cap champion. Like, you really need to be very excellent in her mechanics to make sure she plays good. And
right, I just have a minor crash, guys. I'll kind of reconnect soon.
That's alright, I can take over.
Garina.
Yeah, so coming down to the Vayne versus Ezreal Leona matchup, I think if Ezreal can hit his Qs, if they can play properly, because Sona is just very squishy in the lane, while you have Leona, a very tanky type of support, which you can just stay behind and keep shooting. So we'll see how the bot lane goes. I think it most likely will be in favor of Nexus Destroyers, but you never know. Coming down to the jungle matchup, we do see a Hecarim jungle this game, and I'm kind of surprised to see a Hecarim jungle. I've been seeing a lot of Hecarim jungles on streams and solo queues and stuff, so I want to see how this matches up against a Vi jungle because as we know in Nexus Destroyer's game, Best Rammus SCA always goes on Vi whenever his Rammus is banned. So Vi is kind of his second go-to champ, I'd say. And we've seen his Vi also against OG yesterday, but it was against OG. I mean, there was nothing he could do. Distinct was kind of putting a lot of pressure on the jungle. So right now he's not against OG. He's against a fairly even team, I'd say. And let's see how he can pull off his ganks. Let's see how he can land his Q, because last time we saw a few ganks from Vi, he couldn't land his Q properly, and the enemy would just be able to stun and walk right out. So we'll be looking at Vi's ganks. If Vi could land her Qs, then I guess the gank would go fairly decent. You could probably burn some summoners, or maybe get a kill, or have a really good trade or so. So we'll see how it goes. And talking about the comp in general, I'd say that late game, there's no doubt that Nexus Destroyers is probably gonna win because you got that Orianna into
what time are you on?
Huh?
What time are you on?
014, 015, 16.
Okay. Good. I'm back. Then I'm back. Just loaded. I loaded just in there.
Alright, good. So yeah, talking about the comp in general, I really think that Red Team's comp is much more superior than Blue Team's, but again, it comes to the mid lane matchup. If Lux can hit her skill shot, she will dominate the lane, but then if she doesn't hit her skill shot, she's just going to be very useless. So it's all on to Lux. If she needs to hit those skill shots in those crucial situations, and she really needs to it's mainly about hitting the skill shots, because most of Lux is just skill shot dependent.
There is a mix of everything in Red Team's team comp right now. They have AoE in the form of Jarvan and the Orianna and the Leona, and they have one single target Vi jungle. So basically their comp kind of spells hard engage, which basically means effortless, which basically means they'll just effortlessly initiate team fights. And that's one thing you're gonna have to bear in mind as the match as you face that kind of a team comp and kind of contest for dragons and barons. However,
Blue Team's comp also has pretty good. I mean, the crescendo into a snare and ulti by Lux, and then the Hecarim coming in. Wukong ult is also there, and we also have a Vayne on Blue Team's team, so that's also going to be playing a major factor in how these games are going to go.
Due to the nature of how these skill shots happen, like you have a snare, you have a straight line skill shot in the form of the light binding from Lux, and you have like a small thin AoE kind of stun in the form of the crescendo, whereas you have like AoE in the form of Hecarim's ultimate and Wukong's cyclone. So putting a Vayne there, okay, sure, yes, the Vayne, it is a fairly protect the Vayne kind of a comp. They can peel very well for Vayne. Both the Lux and the Sona can kind of fall back and really peel well for Vayne. So while this may look like sort of a protect the AD carry comp, it has it has some engage on its own, but I'm not sure how it will quite hold up to the synergy of Red Team, because if you look at the Red Team, you have basically 2-3 means of going for a ball delivery system, and SR Almighty having a few connection issues right there. Anyway, never mind about that. Indeed. But yeah, so when it will be very interesting to see how both teams contest for objectives, like when they do a dragon dance or a baron dance, or when they try to counter jungle or counter invade. Due to the very nature of their team comp, it is better if the blue team manages to fight in rather close spaces like their own jungle. However, if the red team takes fights to like the middle of lanes or on the river where they have the space to move around, they can really use they can abuse their positioning to just crush the blue team in one fell sweep. So blue team will have to be really wise about where they pick their fights, I feel.
Yeah, and also a lane that we haven't really touched much upon, top lane. We do have the Jarvan versus Wukong matchup here. Both are really good bruisers. But one thing I'd like to point out is that Jarvan, he took teleport while the Wukong has ignite. So Wukong is really looking forward to win that lane, while the Jarvan is just looking to TP and make plays happen in the bot lane or mid lane or wherever, and contest more for that objective type of playstyle, I'd say.
Goes to show what kind of players these two are. Sammy is going for a slightly more kill the enemy laner and then gain an advantage against him so that he can eventually snowball and kill others later on in team fights. He's basically trying to build a small lane advantage by igniting and shutting down the enemy top laner, while Jarvan is trying to be more of a team player in having that teleport and being able to contest buffs without the Wukong being around. He'll have to be wise about when he gets to lane, like this Wukong right now, because you need to constantly observe. You need to be able to see where the Jarvan is and what he's
doing. See some pinging going on up in the top lane. Best Ramus SCA coming in. Sammy does back off. He is charging his Q up. Sammy does go into the bush. Best Ramus SCA not knowing his Q does get discharged. A few auto attacks will go on to Sammy, but nothing really major happens there. I think Wukong had avoided his Tribush, so he knew that Best Ramus SCA was coming, and Kai going back into the rush, trying to...
The gang happening at mid lane for blue side ends up in nothing as well. So two ganks not landing in anything, not even summoner blows, and
lane, Sammy does go into his stealth mode. He does get a few hits on. He is going very low. Best Ramus SCA taking a tower shot, but not able to finish off Sammy, and no summoners were used there. So yeah, a lot of happening in between the two lanes, don't you think?
Kind of weird, like, sure, yes, Best Ramus SCA had a plan, but I fear the first time when he stepped in, the fact that he let his Q charge the whole way through and never procced it, he could have at least taken that small chance to just go into that brush at a time, because there was that slight chance that you could end up landing it on the Wukong and deal the significant damage needed. However, the reason he repeat ganked was because the first Q completely failed because it never happened. So I guess he had a plan to just repeat gank and use Jarvan's EQ to follow it up. But I guess it's not a case of poor coordination, more like a bad plan, any more than it is just a bad plan to just go and repeat gank that, but never mind. The same could be said for Steam GT's gank at mid lane. I mean, what was he going for?
Oh, and top lane we have another gank, Hecarim coming through, Jarvan being able to EQ out of it. So nothing much happened there. The thing why I think the junglers are focusing on top a lot, because you have two bruisers like Wukong and Jarvan. I mean, once you get one ahead, like say you get Jarvan ahead, then Wukong's Ignite doesn't become that much of a factor. And we have to have a flash ulti in by Wukong. The Ignite does go down. Devil God Dante not taking a lot of damage. Hecarim coming in. Meanwhile, we have an engage at the bot lane. Vayne getting hit very low. She is able to tumble out, and they don't manage to kill her, but... Wow, a lot happening in the map. So
plethora of plays, and finally we see summoners being burned with the Wukong's Flash Cyclone, as well as nothing else. Okay, only the Wukong's Flash being blown, as well as Leona using an exhaust, trying to chase Vayne, trying to harass Vayne out before Solar's sustain can catch up and heal her back. It is a good plan, because sure, yes, there is a Sona on the other team who will sustain, but you can kind of expect to kill Vayne as quick as possible. That's one of the things AS Leona can do, especially after level 6. If the Ezreal and Leona manage to synergize their ultimates and put them one after the other, and oh my god, I think Best Ramus SCA was spotted. That's why we say, yeah, that was actually a bad entry right there. That minion could have easily spotted her. So she didn't wait, she couldn't possibly see the minions in time or something. But yeah, basically both junglers are just trying to trade blows and gank as much as they can, instead of just laying back and farming.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to touch on the top lane, Sammy did get level 6 first, and he did flash ulti the Jarvan, but Hecarim didn't follow up. I mean, he's just a level 4. He didn't have his red buff too. So while Sammy flash cycled the Jarvan, he didn't also have any damage at the time. He just had a crystalline flask and really couldn't do out much. He did waste his ignite, unfortunately, but he probably thought the Hecarim would follow up, but Hecarim was kind of slow on that engage, I'd say, and that's how Devil God Dante was just able to walk away.
Exactly. It takes a lot to know that, okay, fine, maybe I will wait for the Hecarim to follow up and start charging his Q so that he can catch up right with me. And do we seem to be lagging behind the stream? Lokesh, what time are you on?
You're ahead of us.
So we seem to be, slightly ahead of us. Okay, do one thing. Hit backspace once, Lokesh. It'll jump back 15 seconds. Now what time I want, Lokesh? No, backspace. Okay, backspace once. Yeah, hit backspace once. Okay, fine. Right. So the stream is now slightly behind us, but not too far behind us. So hopefully it isn't too much. We'll kind of say things in as slow method as possible.
Over in the top lane, we do have a gank. Both ultis being used on Sammy, and first blood will go down to Jarvan. Beautiful gank by Vi over in the top lane. That was just very good. What happened was Devil God Dante did engage perfectly onto Sammy. Vi also came in and actually landed her Q, and along with the Jarvan's Cataclysm, and they were just able to lock down Wukong so much. And that was the kind of gank I was telling you about, Varun. Like, it doesn't matter that Sammy has Ignite. He already wasted his Ignite, and Vi gave the advantage over to Jarvan. So now, if he can just build a little bit of damage now, he can really just pressure the lane and, play so aggressive that the Wukong would miss out on a lot of CS, hopefully take the tower and probably tower dive him if he could.
Oh, and an ulti being baited out from Gaja, the bot lane. Not sure what happened there. Just a quick, kind of like a panic ult, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and coming over to the bot lane a little bit, if you notice, like, just the CS in Vayne, she's able to CS kind of fairly fine. Like, she's not she's not really behind in CS, she's just a few creeps behind, and she's doing really good in that Ezreal versus Leona matchup.
But that's thanks in no large part to Sona, isn't it? The fact that Sona can just heal you and keep you alive in the lane. Like, they actually to be quite honest, Nexus Destroyers actually made a few decent initiatives to try and take the Vayne down before Sona's healing can catch up, but they just couldn't finish the job. Like, we see that every time they try to make a huge
and over in mid lane, we do have a gank. The Q does land. Orianna going in the flash being used by Hellstream. He does get a snare good. He does put out some harass. The ulti goes out, but not a lot of damage is pushed out. Beautiful gank by Best Rammus SEA. I mean, finding out the position of Lux, landing her Q, forcing the flash by Lux. It was very good. Of course, Lux was able to catch both of them in a snare and give a little bit of damage back, but just a very good gank by Best Rammus SEA, don't you think?
True. Yes. I'm actually sad that Orianna didn't ult right there, because that was actually the perfect chance to ult when she stopped to cast her own ult. I have no idea why she kind of feared it, I'd say. But yeah, if she had followed with a shockwave and kind of dragged Lux to the front a bit, that would have actually been incentive to ult and just finish her off then and there. You could pretty much prey on her ability to just counter gank and immediately tower on top. Right there. So that was kind of a missed opportunity from Nexus Destroyers, but again, they forced the flash. I guess they're happy with it.
Indeed, and now we see the jungler on top roaming the mid over on the blue team. We also have Vi coming down in the bot lane, so a lot of things happening. Jarvan teleporting to a ward onto there. He will catch out Sona, I believe, and he will play aggressive. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, we also have a lot of duel. Sammy coming in, taking the kill onto Orianna, and now the Cataclysm goes on to Devil God Dante and Hellstream. They do take out Devil God Dante, and now with the Vi ult coming in along with the Leona ult, Deadsaw able to come. Steam G takes him very low. He does get taken out. Sammy also going on to Deadsaw. They will chase him down. Gaja is there for some help. Sona is also very low. The flash Leona does come, but it doesn't connect with Sammy, and Sammy will go down to Leona. Now Best Rammus SEA lands his Q onto Gaja. Gaja trying to kite as much as possible. Good snare by Hellstorm, and they disengage that fight perfectly.
Indeed. Well, that was kind of a comedy of errors. Thing is, RuneFausT started that fight out properly because Sammy actually ended up where Devil God Dante would be, or because he was there first and he kind of forced the teleport and Devil God Dante to try and make the engage. But I feel like they didn't back off in time, or they kind of didn't have the wards necessary to spot the bot lane and the jungler coming in. So I guess what started out well ended really badly because they just couldn't see the others coming in time to disengage and back off in time. So it was it was a minor error, miscalculation on that part, really, because when you don't have watch, when you don't expect the enemy coming, you kind of always end up dying because you can't ever expect to react fast enough, and suddenly you're like, oh wow, okay, look, there is the bot lane, there is this thing. So if you look at the blue wards on the river right at that exact time, blue side only has a ward on their tri-brush. So that was merely something that started out well, but they should have recognized the opportunity and the one time where they would kind of be mobbed on by the rest, and should have backed off in time. But I don't know why they chose to fight when their ultimates were down. So bit of a miscalculation, but I don't think it'll affect them too much because it wasn't contested over an objective. It was just a general team fight in the middle of the lane.
Yeah, indeed.
So, yeah.
I mean, a lot was happening on the map. We did have the jungler and top roam down to mid, and we also had a very aggressive, spontaneous teleport by Jarvan onto that ward, catching Sona out. And at the same time, we had the mid lane being able to duel. Bot lane, a lot of ultis being used there, and not much of a trade happens. But over the top lane,
that damage on main with just one Q and auto is huge, by the way.
Yeah, and over in the top lane, we also have some action going on. The jungler catching out Jarvan, and Vi also coming up there. So, a lot happening on that map. But I guess in that small fight, what you saw in bot lane a few minutes ago. Oh, sorry. The junglers colliding in mid lane over a pink ward. Orianna coming back. The shockwave did be used, but it wasn't much. The ulti going on to Hellscream. Terminator with the double buff. Sammy comes up with the Cyclone. The ulti by Lux does go down, but nothing much happens. Best Ramus SCA forced to flash out. Wow, a lot of going on there.
Okay. Well, I'm speechless because I'm trying to process everything that happened. First of all, Terminator completely whiffed his ult because he ulted and Hecarim did not particularly get CC'd. So
yeah,
you could probably say that Hecarim does not have the items, like Steam GG did not have the itemization to straight up go and kill the Orianna. He should have, at that exact moment, if he wanted to go and ult right onto her. But somehow it didn't, and somehow it never quite happened, and that actually ended up in his demise because Best Time as SCA was right there. So he kind of had either a conflict in decision making or pretty much made the wrong decision entirely, because I don't quite understand why he would just go right onto the Orianna without recognizing his own damage. All he has is a giant's belt. Tanks don't do much damage to pretty much kill carries one-on-one with that.
Indeed, Hecarim very weak at this moment of the game, and also I think there's a little bit of miscommunication on the red team because
insane miscommunication.
Yeah, because Vi is always going for the targets out of range. I mean, she needs to kind of focus the targets that are close to to his carries. Like in the fight we saw before, I mean, right after I think Vi ultied the Lux and then went back for Hecarim, but yeah, I think a little bit of miscommunication. Even the bot lane,
which is the right thing to do, right? When he went, his initial plan was to just engage and kill the Lux along with the Orianna, but then he would not have expected to see the Hecarim there. So when he did, he decided to deal with the Hecarim because his own mid laner was in trouble. So this was Best Time as SCA basically trying to opt to help his teammate out instead of going for an initial plan to go and kill, while Team GG just sees one single Orianna and decides maybe I can kill her, but now has actually seen that, okay, maybe one giant spell is not enough for me to go out and try and kill her. So
yeah, and we do have another gank going on mid. Beautiful snare land by Hellscream, although nothing much happens there. We do have Sammy coming in with the Cyclone Ignite on the Terminator. Both champions get knocked up. Hecarim using his ulti, knocks Ramus back, Flash Smite, Ramus with a little bit of health. The Cataclysm catches 2 people, and that will be a double kill. We do have the Ezreal coming down, but it doesn't really do anything. So,
again, the Orianna did not ult this time. I'm not quite sure why she's holding down her ult so much. Maybe she's way too dependent on the wombo combo to kind of land the ult at all.
Dante going on to Lux, but he does get pushed back. And even in the bot lane, we do have a small engage. Gaja being exhausted. Both of these people taking a lot of damage. Zoro Almighty in tower range. The crescendo does go up. Ulti by Gaja onto this thing, Leona. He doesn't get Leona. Leona also flashes. He's chasing for Leona, but Leona with a beautiful E onto Vayne, and Sona is just didn't follow up for some reason, and Deadsaw was just able to hit the Vayne freely, but now we have the Hecarim coming in, and they might be looking to do something on the Leona, but they do have the Ezreal they need to deal with, so... What do you think about that engage,
was
Warren?
exactly what the bot lane wanted. They completely singled the Vayne out. The Leona completely singled the Vayne out from the Sona through her bait. Well, it was pretty much a bait because she knew that she was in kill range of Vayne. So she'd just go right back. And the intelligent decision to turn around was seriously shows how good that shows how much he knows his Leona really. Because they were just insane. Because that could not have been played any better by the Ezreal and Leona, because while the Ezreal is just there trying to deal damage to the Vayne, he made sure that the Vayne would not turn on Ezreal immediately. Sure, yes, she was in an unfavorable circumstance to begin with, and it would not have made a difference, but the very fact that she recognizes that she's the one being targeted at that particular point is actually really good.
Meanwhile, red team is just taking a free dragon, and the blue team not being able to contest that. I don't know why. I guess Hecarim was already in base, and good recognition by the red teams to take that dragon, and just perfect I see a little bit of coordination happening between the red team. I mean, they know that the jungler is back. They do have Sammy walk down to bottom side of the jungle to make sure nothing happens, and it was just really good coordination, while the blue team really needs to start picking stuff up. I mean, of course they have the Vayne, they have damage, they got Lux doing a few good snares, and they have Sammy trying to, I guess, break even in top lane, but they really need to start,
and touching going on top lane.
Top lane, Cyclone being used, Sammy taken very low. He might go down here. He does get that movement speed and is going back with Jarvan, waiting for his EQ. Does get creep locked a little bit, does get his EQ, and does take a tower for a kill.
Well, okay, so multiple things going on wrong there. First of all, let me start with the reason why red team were able to take down that dragon so easily. It's primarily because of Steam G's positioning at bot lane. He should not have shown himself up. And actually, he should have realized that, okay, the Leona is probably way too safe and it's impossible to kill her. And there's no way in hell that she would actually go right on to the Sona 1v1 like that, because Sona has some damage of her own and she'll be able to kill him anyway. So, poor decision from Hecarim on that part. He has been having a very bad day right now in terms of making the right decisions in game, hasn't he? Hopefully it doesn't take him down today in his other games that for RuneFausT gaming. But yes. Amidst other things, because of that, he single-handedly conceded
Hecarim also
that
gets
dragon,
caught out.
and
He does
oh my
ulti
god.
away. Sammy is there. Best Ram is charging up his Q. He does get ignited, takes a lot of damage, does go down to Sammy, and Jarvan just forced him back.
Tower OP.
Tower indeed, OP.
Tower
Playing
OP.
a bit too aggressive there. He didn't realize that Sammy just died and was coming back to lane, and was just able to get a kill right there. Bad realization by Best Ram SCA, but really good kill for Sammy, knowing that his Hecarim was in trouble and comes to his aid, but yeah.
So right now, I feel like one thing the blue team has got going for them is fairly, well, while not fed in kills, but generally decently farmed Lux, as well as the general kill potential of Sammy right now, because those two are the only things keeping them alive. The Vayne has already been killed once, and the Ezreal can pretty much handle the Vayne. So can the Leona. So if the Vayne can actually...
And we do have Sammy going a little bit of aggressive on Orianna, but Orianna flashing to safely. Good summoner burn by Sammy. I mean, actually, to be honest, and we do have Best Ram SEA getting caught out a little bit. Does charge his Q, will probably Q away, and there won't be any follow-up on that. They are looking towards this dragon, but the dragon was just taken. So it's going to be a little while till that comes up. Meanwhile, they are focusing on the bot lane. Gacha trying to play a little bit aggressive onto Deadsaw, but nothing out of that. Now they have a 5-man bot lane, while Jarvan is just able to split push top. I think red team could handle this turret with 4 members itself. Deadsaw's ulti comes out, takes the minion to about half HP, and
well, it does. I'm not sure if these guys would pick this string right now. I did mention that red team was better at fighting in AoE, but not like that. They need to take it sequentially and step by step.
Good ultimate does go on to Wukong, does take him out. Now we have Solar Stro Almighty just holding the carries back, and now we have Vayne trying to go aggressive onto Devil God Dante, trying to kite as much as she can, but Hellscream with no mana, can't do anything. Or DC'd, I'm not sure, but they're gonna take a triple kill, and it might be a quadra kill. Hellscream flashes away to save. Red team just does not want to go up on there.
Gaja, you would need to position yourself better, man. He's making reckless decisions as a Vayne today. Sure, yes, you may be a Vayne, but you're not fed enough to make those reckless decisions count, because he's just mispositioning and running right into the range of the Jarvan in that fight, which is actually suicide considering that Jarvan already has a Tiamat, is 6-1 and 2, and has a Sunfire Cape to boot. So you cannot possibly face the Jarvan and go straight up trying to kill other people in his way. So, yeah.
Indeed. So, yeah, just reckless decision by the Vayne. Vayne does have the Blade the Rune King, he does have the Zeal, he does have the damage, while Ezreal is just going blue build. He has a little bit of CC, and, Vayne has the damage, but he just needs the positioning. If he can position himself correctly, then he can be a major factor in this team fight. And one thing I'd also like to point out, since about 10 minutes ago, is that, Lux, as a Lux, you're not building any mana items. Look, you have a Void Staff, you have a Zhonya's, you got defensive, you have a little bit of damage, but then you don't have any mana. You can't really do anything in a team. Your abilities to cope before the team fight and then engage. During the team fight, you don't have any mana. There's nothing. You're kind of useless, to be honest, unless you get a decent game-changing snare. But you really need to build an Athenes or a Morelos to have mana to the team fight.
Here's the thing: he has been compensating for not building a mana item early really well, because you haven't really seen him useless and out of lane. Ordinarily, when this happens, you'd expect junglers to camp you and just completely run you dry out of mana, but he has actually done a very good job conserving his mana and compensating for his losses. So it's very much possible that this is what he planned to go for, considering he wasn't really dying early game. He just decided, I'll just get a few straight damage items and end up managing my mana, which he is. And even right now, you don't really see him completely out of mana and starving for anything. He's making sure he is teamfight ready at all times. And will this dragon be free? Contested?
And the Hecarim ulting in, he gets feared onto 4 members. He does take a lot of damage. The Crescendo does come in. The Lux ulti also comes in. Best for MSSCA focusing on the Gaja. They both go down. Now Hellscream getting a good snare onto Devil God Dante, but Devil God Dante just going in. 4 members of Red Team alive versus 1 member of Hellscream without any mana. The Leona stun coming in, the damage coming in, and that will be an ace for blue team, for Red Team, I'd say.
Very poorly fought by the blue team. Team GG was too reckless right there. He should recognize that his team would not be able to immediately follow up with the Crescendo. They need to combo their abilities in sequence to kind of make their comp work. And while they did have a good engage and the Lux did get a decent ultimate off, it completely did not work out in the end because of how clumped up, because of how well the Red Team were disengaging. So they should have at least disengaged in time. But Team GG going into suicide and Gaja just getting caught to the Jarvan and being unable to handle it was very, 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 very poor decision making by everyone. Basically, everyone's just, I wouldn't say reckless, but because they're behind, they're making desperation.
Oh, and over in the blue buff area, we do have a small duel with Sammy and Devil God Dante. Devil God Dante doesn't want to fight this, even though he's 2 levels up, because he doesn't have any mana. But the blue will go over to Sammy, and he will just EQ away. So.
The Jarvan is looking to be
again, we have Sammy
right
trying to spot out as Best for MSSC and Devil God Dante. He really wants to fight this. Best for MS is doing a little bit of damage with the Triforce. The Cyclone is being used. Ignite also popped. Best for MSSC will go down. Now he's trying to fight with Dante, and Dante just too strong for Sammy right now. 2 levels above Sammy. He didn't have mana, but his auto attacks really do well, and he also has a Sunfire and an unfinished Randuin's that could hold Sammy's damage, and just very reckless play by Sammy. He probably thought that
if he had done
was
that
stronger.
exactly 2 minutes earlier, his team would have gotten a free dragon without any threat of smite from the enemy jungler. But no, it's just a slight mistime. I'm not sure why Sammy's just going off, making these on trades by himself, because they really can't make anything out of this.
Over in the area, we do have So Almighty getting caught out. No ultis or flashes being used, but a missed snare comes out from Lux, and over in the bot lane we just have these 280 carries just farming a lot. I mean, Ezreal, I'd like to talk about Ezreal's build. He is going for the blue build, and he also has completed his Muramana.
Which is just fully farmed.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you think that blue build is gonna affect or help the red team in this scenario?
It is actually gonna help him so much more, because not just because of the AoE slow from this thing, but he's basically making himself as inaccessible as he can. Because not only is he Ezreal, who has an E to conveniently escape any big aggression being put on him, especially by the Wukong and the Hecarim, but he'll be able to deal with it well. Look at the damage
Demi
he's
coming
dealing.
out with
Look
a
at the
5-man
damage that
ulti.
comes
He
out.
is gonna get bursted. Meanwhile, we have Devil God Dante coming in. So almighty, very low. He does go to the Vayne. They get 3 members of the Shockwave gets caught out. Double kill going to Vi. He will flash and go for Maya. The rest of the team trying to follow up. The EQ does come out, but both of these flashes away. Now he's going on to Hellscream. Hellscream does flash away. Devil God Dante does get caught in the snare. He's able to tank the turret, and that's another ace for the red team. Very sloppy performance by the blue team.
I talked about
sloppy.
this at the very start. I told you that the red team, if they fight in open spaces and not in clumped up places, not clumped up like in the enemy's jungle and whatnot, if it's a full-on 5v5, they will win. You saw how well those abilities just meshed together. The Vi ult into the Jarvan ult into the Leona didn't even ult. Oh my god. Okay, SR Almighty didn't even ult for that whole fight. So if she had ulted, then probably even she would not have ended up dying to the rest as well. So that's the one choice that the blue team is gonna have to make. It's either a pick with the Lux snare, or just fighting when linear spaces, when the entire red team is in a line, so they can make use of Lux's damage and Sona's Crescendo and Wukong's AoE. They basically are not able to compete AoE versus AoE, and if they make this choice any further, it'll only lead to their demise by the end of this game.
I mean, just very all those sloppy plays the back very far. I mean, earlier into this game it was kind of even, but now 39k to 52k and 11 kills to stop making sloppy plays. They need to start positioning themselves properly, peel for the Vayne. They can't really get caught up by the shockwave. They can't force flash engage like Sammy did a few minutes ago.
To make this comp work, they need to master the art of fighting while disengaging. Basically, like helping the Vayne out and dealing damage in parts, which is actually a huge deal when you're fighting such heavy AoE comps. But yeah, right now Gaza is actually dealing with the Jarvan really poorly. Devil God Dante has been casually, very coolly just going straight through Hecarim and Wukong and is happily 1v1ing the Vayne. And the Lux at the same time.
He's also built up the Randuin, Sunfire, and the Thornmail. So what he just wants to do in teamfight is go for the Vayne. And if the Vayne makes a mistake of focusing Arvin, then that's just a free 5-man ace for the red team. I mean, there's nothing much they. Also, the mana really affecting Lux. I mean, not being able to have full mana throughout the fight, not being able to have a few blue buffs, because most of the blue buffs are going to best Rem as SCA and Terminator. So
yeah,
they need to really start playing together.
I agree. And will you see another fight? Yeah, this could be very well be another fight. Again, open lane, very favorable position. Red team really making a few good choices in fighting in the middle of lanes like this, instead of fighting their jungle. Notice how they're never really going into their jungle as much. It's only just best time, as I say, going in and taking buffs on his own without like his whole team needing to be there. So they're making use of their comms, they're making use of their ultimates, they're making use of whatever synergy they have and are just meshing it together to kind of win fights. Except right now they're actually in a closed space, and will blue team see this in time? No, they don't have the wards to see. Look at the vision coverage by the blue team as opposed to the red team. Sure, yes, blue team has a few wards, but they're going to die out in that mid lane, and they can't ever come to put these again because of how much the lanes are shoving. So Miar cannot possibly go in there unless he wants to commit suicide, really, to try and regain vision on that river side and on their own jungle.
Red team just get a free dragon again. Blue team is gonna think about contesting this one, seeing how far they are put behind, but never know what could happen. You can't completely count out the blue team just yet. Of course, red team does have the advantage, and they are gonna push it. They are looking
that they'll be
very
baited.
strong.
They believe that they can bait the enemy team, I guess. I don't know.
Ulti
Well,
by Lux
okay,
coming
so-
out to clear the wave. Again, Lux without any manage, so this could be a good time for Red Team to try and take the tower or focus the tower or get a killer. So, because I guess Lux is gonna have to go back now, but I do perceive that the blue buff is up, so that might be going over to Deathstar. So, Devil God Dante, I guess, pinging and out for it. So that probably will go to Deathstar, and they're just gonna keep shoving the wave mid.
Right, so right now, I'm not even sure if they can defend this turret anymore if all 5 people are, okay, fine, maybe right now in this particular siege they can probably defend because the Devil God Dante's presence in the top lane, and I'm not sure if they know that Devil God Dante does not have his teleport as well. So if they recognize this, they could probably go around and try to shove the lanes, possibly make few light catches in the sieges, but right now it's hard to say what you need to do. Catch is just one part of the equation, but you need to make the incentive. Like, I think Hellscream needs to kind of step up and land some really good snares on squishies in order to claw this game back. Because Team GG's engages, while yes, they have been decisive and formidable, he is willing to go in, but he's just not finding the right times to do that. So if anything, they need Hellscream's snares more than ever, so that the carries are at least inaccessible and are unable to deal the right damage needed.
Going on in the mid lane. Good ulti by Sammy, and Ramus Hessia going for the Sona. Ramus Hessia taking very low. The Crescendo does come up, but doesn't really catch anybody. Ignite goes on. Here comes Devil God Dante, and a double kill going for Orianna. Hellscream just standing back, not knowing what to do, missing his snares, but Devil God Dante, seeing that, goes for the Cataclysm onto Hellscream. Hellscream does flash away, and that's not an ace, but that's almost a 4-man by them, and Devil God Dante gets that's a very low heal.
And oh my god, is that gonna be? Oh my god,
Tower trying to do as much as they can, but it won't be able to do much, and I guess it's a trade. Support from mid, and that is going to be an ace. There goes the inhibitor turret. I don't really think the inhibitor is going to be going, but just a beautifully played fight by Red Team. But Red Team didn't even engage that fight.
Yeah, thing is, the blue team, it's okay. That fight, their initiation was not to be blamed. It wasn't okay. I'm not one for nitpicking and blaming, but Gaja kind of gradually lost the fight for his own team with his positioning there. He really couldn't assess the situation and see whether he needed to continue hitting the Jarvan, even though he actually has a Thornmail. Sorry, not Jarvan. What am I saying? Needed to continue going after the full health Orianna, knowing that she has the mana to fight back. And Orianna's burst damage with the QW is actually really big. So
at the moment,
he kind
with
of
those
assessed
items.
this poorly. So yeah, I mean, Gaja needs to learn to position better and understand when to go in and when to step out of team fights, because he's not exactly fighting alongside Niar, which is what he should be doing as Sona's shields and her general haste and every other skill that comes with it synergizes well with her if she managed to fight alongside her. So she needs to stick by Sona's side while trying to deal damage at the same time and not make completely reckless decisions just because she happens to be Vayne, the most powerful AD carry in the game, or something like that. And if anything, Deathsaw is like a lot more powerful than him, so he needs to especially avoid going for Deathsaw. But he doesn't seem to be doing that this game, and that's being a bit of a problem for RuneFausT right now.
Taking up a free Baron here, not even contested by Red Team. That was actually a smart play by Blue Team. We've seen this game. I mean, I don't know how they kind of... I guess they probably just prayed that Red Team wouldn't come and find them at Baron, because that could be game, but that's us still trying to... I guess that's not believing that
I think he ulted just so that he can gain vision and reset the Baron timer by itself, so that he can use the icon to find out when they're this thing. But yes, that was actually a very, very this thing. They were stacked up. They just decided, okay, now they're actually gonna... Actually, I think... Okay, no, they don't even have wards. Okay, they pretty much relied on gut instinct and wards behind on red jungle, that they just kind of decided to take a free Baron because they had vision, I guess. I mean, yes, they did spread out and only have vision on one place, but they played according to that and just saw nobody there. And I think mid lane kind of gave away the position of these guys immediately. So I guess these guys did not quite expect or plan out for Baron. In fact, they should have gone for Baron themselves, I feel. I don't know why Nexus' choice did not go for Baron themselves, because it had nothing to do with the other lanes pushing. Even if they did group up to another lane, you can very well take Baron. Baron gives you enhanced recall. You could have backed off in time and come down to defend the bottom inner tower. So I'm just trying to see what other strategies they could have pulled off. And really, going for Baron was the only thing that I thought at the time, and it's surprised that they didn't go for it.
Alright, yeah, one more thing I'd like to say about Lux build. I just saw that Archangel's staff and noticed that he stacked 133 out of 750. I have no idea what Lux is doing at the moment. I don't really know why you'd go for a tier that early on in the game. And Sammy getting catching Terminator
Good
out, Terminator
Zhonya's.
forced to
Good
use his
Zhonya's.
Zhonya's. And Devil God Dante just coming in to make sure his AP carry doesn't die right there. Meanwhile, Dead's up pushing in for the inhibitor. He also doesn't really get caught. He's able to E back out, and now Gaja trying to get a few hits on Devil God Dante. Devil God Dante does taken very low. He does go for a reckless engage, catches 3 members with the Cataclysm. Good smite and Zhonya's by there. Best time is SEA and both Deads are going in for Gaja. Gaja trying to kite out this jungler, but he does go down. Sammy on their enemy's AD carry, and he also pushes him out, but a good shutdown by Hecarim, taking out, and not much on here. The shockwave does catch only one person, Sammy being the next target. Deto being very low, does get a double kill. He does get stunned, the heals are being used. Hellscream in the back, trying to do as much as he can, trying to put this best friend SCA down, and a beautiful ace by blue team. Wow, so much happening, so much mispositioning on both sides, and they were able to take down the ace, and they could take down the first mid lane turret of red team. Beautiful play there. Varn, what do you say?
That was what they needed. Seriously, that's all I can say right now, because they really needed to fight in that particular fashion, where Steam.gg goes back, try and pay for Vayne as much as possible. Even though Gaja did die, they used Lux's own damage output and Wukong's innate damage output well enough that basically, okay, I think it comes down to the fact that Devil God Dante made a suicidal decision to go right into 4 people, because the only way to take down a Jarvan with that much health and Thornmail is to mob him single-handedly with nobody else bothering you, nobody on his team bothering you. And that was the particular situation. When he ulted into 3 or 4 people, nobody else was bothering the blue team besides him. And that is kind of the perfect situation, because you're all equally shedding your own health from his Thornmail, and you're completely minimizing losses instead of just one Vayne. So Devil God Dante, you could very well say that Devil God Dante threw that fight for his team by suiciding to them initially before anybody else could follow. And that's what led to the ace. And
Indeed, but red team does come back and take the dragon. They are going to ulti top lane and try and clear that way from pushing onto its inner turret, but doesn't really take out much minions.
Given how ahead red team are, that fight, losing that one fight really does not change things. And
yeah, it doesn't change things, but it still gives...
Yeah,
still pushes, like... It still motivates blue team to just keep going. I mean, they didn't get an inhibitor. Their inhibitor is still up. They don't have turrets though, but then it still gives them motivation. And basically, you know, it keeps their head into the game. Like, oh, we got an ace. We're still in this. We're not out of it.
But now they'll be facing a red team that's stronger than ever, because the 5th Baron, the 5th Dragon stack, as we all know, applies true damage on every single auto attack on all champions, on all of them, whoever has the buff. So right now, it's very much looking dire, because they have to now play the stall game and not fight like this. I hope they don't fight like this, please.
Oh, the snare catching 3 members out. A lot of damage. The ulti does go out. Devil God Dante and the Locket of Iron Solari being used a little bit late. But, wow, we didn't see much there. I guess both teams respecting each other.
Yeah, blue team should not fight. I have seen blue team not fight against a 5 Dragon Slayer stack team. And while red team should work on ending the game right now while they still have that stack, they really need to find a way. They need to use the same guerrilla tactics that helped them in their last fight. Just kind of...
PG going and very recklessly does flash out. Cataclysm catches 3 members. Vayne does go down. This looks like the game is in red team's favor. Heckrim also goes down for the double kill. Sammy trying to go
That's
on the
game
carries,
over
but
right
Dead's up
there. That's
hiding
game
away
over.
with that blue team build. And now the exhaust is being used on Lux. Shockwave going on Lux, taking out Lux, just executing. Devil God Dante trying to go for the Sona, but doesn't get a Guardian Angel popped on Sammy. He will go down. There is no escape. Lock and Solari being used once again. The Nexus turrets are going down.
That was
we
utter
are the last
suicide.
person
What
alive,
was
and that's
Team GG
GG.
thinking? What was Team GG thinking? That is a 5 Dragons layered up. He wasn't even alone. Nobody was alone. Why would you just go in and ult and try to make your comp work one last time? It made no sense. And that pretty much cost them the game. Seriously, people just going in recklessly without the team following up, without understanding what the enemy team is capable of, is what cost Blue Team this game. Team GG's decisions and his engages made literally no sense. And he couldn't coordinate with his teammates much for that, for pretty much the entire match, given the amount of times we've pointed out and called him out on his mistakes this time around. So yeah, a rough first game for RuneFausT Gaming and a good, very well fought game from Nexus Destroyers.
Indeed it was. I mean, they were almost equal, like about 15-20 minutes into the game, but then a few mistakes, some kind of rough engages by Sammy, and just very uncoordinated between the led them to the fall. And plus, Steam GG also very reckless engages, just trying to contest for Dragon. He wasn't patient enough. I guess patience is also what made the blue team also lose. I mean, there was a lot of reckless engages, bad positioning by Gaja, and just overall a bad game. But